Actually, today was the day I was originally supposed to go in to have my ADHD assessment with a psychiatrist. But if you saw yesterday's video, that's changed. I'm no longer going to see that psychiatrist. I'm going to see a mental health clinic that's run by GPs that have an interest or specialization in ADHD. That's just kind of interesting to me. It just struck me as I hit record. It's like, no, today was the day I was supposed to find out. Anyway, I am on my morning walk and I'm very sore because yesterday I played pickleball. Now, almost 100% certain that you've heard of pickleball, even if you don't know what it is. It's kind of like tennis, but should I say it's like a simplified version. Andre Agassi, the famous ex-professional tennis player, did describe pickleball as where tennis players go to die. And it's funny because there's a bit of a turf war between pickleball fans and pickleball fans and tennis fans. But the reason I got into pickleball, and I've only been playing it 3 weeks, was obviously since it came to my attention that I may have ADHD, I've been trying to find out all the ways that I could help mitigate the symptoms in a non-medical way, because I haven't had my ADHD assessment yet. And even if I have my assessment and it comes back negative, there's still symptomology that I struggle with. So procrastination, motivation, all those sorts of things. And if you don't get assessed, you can't have the medication. It doesn't mean you don't still struggle with those symptoms. So I wanted to find out, okay, what's the best way? What are some of the ways that I could deal with some of those issues? Now, don't think it comes as a huge surprise. Exercise is hugely beneficial, not just for ADHD, not just for mental health, but for everyone. I will put a link to some studies below that sort of describe it in qualitative terms. I mean, it's very difficult to say, if you exercise 30 minutes a day, for example, you will experience a 27% improvement in your ability to focus, because everyone is different. And also those sorts of things are very personal. Like, you have to describe it yourself. So whereas one person might say, yes, I experience, you might have 100 people say, yes, I feel much better in my ability to focus or to goal set after, taking on an exercise regimen. You can't, how are they going to say, 27%, 32%? But I think it's a given that exercise is good. And again, I'll put links below to some studies. And also, one huge thing that is more quantitative is the beneficial effects of being outside, getting sunlight, and things like vitamin D. So vitamin D is one of the things that your body will synthesize. I think that's what happens anyway when you have exposure to the sun. Unfortunately, with so many of us being indoors now, we're vitamin D deficient. And even if you are outdoors a lot, because of the sunscreen that we do have to put on for good reason, that can sometimes block the vitamin D or prevent the vitamin D from being synthesized. So and again, I'll link to studies below. There are a lot of studies showing not only the benefits of exercise for everyone, but the benefits of being outdoors. One of the things that I was just looking at this morning is, and you'll know this if you watch the Huberman podcast, Andrew Huberman podcast, which I strongly suggest you do. It's great for anyone who's got a bit of you're curious as to how the brain works and you want to hear it from a scientific point of view that's not too complicated. It's kind of like broken down. I won't say it's simple, but it's kind of simplified. But he talks about this idea of having to get sunlight first thing in the morning before you get your cup of coffee. So not only the benefit of exercise, but the benefits of just getting outdoors. And there are lots of studies into that. And so I've been looking at this and going, okay, I already knew, and I'm sure you do too, that exercise is going to be good for you. But here's the issue for people who are, let's say, motivationally challenged, such as ourselves, or focus challenged, whatever you want to call it. And this brings me back to pickleball. Here I go with my ranting and raving story. But the easiest exercise, probably for most of you, for most of us, go out, go for a run, right? So you go, oh, okay, I hear that exercise is good for us. Getting outdoors in the morning is good for us before we have our morning cup of coffee. What you should do is go for a run. Here's a problem with that. I hate running. Okay, I don't mean like, I love like tennis and pickleball, and I have to run there. I have to run in those sports, obviously, but the thought of going out on the street and going for a jog is hell on earth for me. And back in my younger days, a lot of people seem to have this lifelong goal of, if you ask them what their big lifetime ambition was, it'd be to run a marathon. And so I would hear this and I would think, yeah, running a marathon is probably pretty difficult. I want to run a marathon. I do not want to run a marathon anymore. I never did, by the way, I never ran a marathon, but I don't want to. And here's the reason. It's not because I think running is bad for me, and it's not even the practical issues. Like here around where I live, there's a lot of I'm quite tall. There are low-lying tree branches, and some of the roads are a bit dodgy. There's potholes. So when I did try running back in the day, I had this lovely choice of, I look up and I can avoid running into low-lying tree branches, but I probably will step in a pothole, fall over and break my ankle. Or I can look down, avoid the potholes, save my ankle, but then probably get jabbed in the eye by a low-lying tree branch. Even that inconvenience aside, I just found running so boring. I can't remember who used this term first, but boredom for people such as ourselves is kryptonite. The stuff that kills Superman. And it's so true. Like, people often say that ADHD people have issues with focus, but if you've ever done something that you've liked, you've been interested in a subject, and you've had that episode of hyperfocus, which I've had episodes of that have lasted for weeks. It's not a focus issue. It's the ability to control sometimes where that focus goes, because sometimes it goes where it's not supposed to, like on cleaning our room or learning how to cook a souffle rather than a uni assessment or a uni assignment. But running is terribly boring to me, horrifically boring, and also huge internal monologue. And when you're running, you've got nothing else to do, so that internal monologue just goes into hyperspeed, and I don't find that helpful. Now, don't get me wrong, I love going for a walk in the morning. I do. I find that very relaxing, and that's like a walking meditation, because that's another thing I can't do. Meditate in terms of sitting down and just clear your head. I will say I interviewed Rihanna Pfaff the other day, and she was talking about meditation and different ways of doing it. And her husband does what I do, which is walking meditation, which is rather than sitting down and chanting and trying to clear your head, walking as a way of sort of helping to clear the mind or distill your thoughts. I also think of tennis, by the way, as a meditation for me, because it sort of demands attention on something, and so my brain, that monologue has to sort of be quietened down. But here's the thing. So we know exercise is good for us. We know sunlight is good for us. By the way, the sunlight I forgot to mention this, ADHD again, if I have it. Sunlight is very good at resetting your circadian rhythms. Basically, it means you're going to get a better quality of sleep. How many of us, or how many of you with ADHD, do you struggle with the quality of your sleep? I'm a terrible insomniac. I've been waking up recently at like 3 a.m, 5 a.m, and then trying to go back to sleep until about 6 or 7, and then realizing that when I wake up it's gone 8 or 9. I've even tried moving my bed around because I thought, that might be novel, it might help me sleep. But anyway, we know things like, okay, getting exercise is going to be helpful, getting sunlight, it's going to be helpful, all that sort of stuff. And if you've worked with children with ADHD, as I have as a tennis coach, this is all kind of, you may not have known it specifically or from a scientific point of view, but you knew it to be true. Because you know that kids, if they sit in front of a screen the whole day, they act and behave differently as opposed to when you take them out to the park or take them out to the beach, especially when you go and play with them. Nothing sort of irks me more than parents who say, yeah, to their child, yeah, sport's good, you should go and play sport. And then they sit on the sidelines, not watching the sport, but, transfixed on their phones. Because it's like, to me, you should be leading by example, not just telling someone, yeah, it's good for you, I won't do it, but it's good for you. So we know all that stuff is good for us, but here's my point. The reason I took up pickleball was because it was similar to tennis, but it was going to be simpler for me to do on a regular basis, specifically because the pickleball where I'm going is indoors, so it's not affected by rain, and also it's a club. So even if one person is unable to play 1 week, you're still going to be able to go there, have fun, enjoy yourself. It's a constant that I can book in. I enjoy it as well. Now, the reason I enjoy it, and here's the thing for you, if you're like me and you don't like running, or if there's anything that you don't like doing, there's going to be something that you do like. There's going to be something that you've maybe fixated on in your past or hyper-focused on in your past. And so for me, if I'm wanting to get more into exercise, the trick for me, and here's what I've been trying to do, is thinking, okay, I hate running. And the thought of going to the gym is not really attractive to me. I've done that before, but I've never been a gym junkie. I'd much rather just be outdoors and running around chasing a ball. Okay, so I love tennis, which means, by the way, I'll be able to do it probably longer than most other people because the dopamine kicks in. But there's a challenge with tennis, which is I probably can't do it every day because I can't find people of around the same standard as myself particularly easily. I used to be a tennis coach, so I play at a moderate to high level, and so I can't just take anyone off the street and have a game of tennis with them. It wouldn't work. So there was this sport that I really loved to play. It would give me the exercise and the sunlight, the vitamin D that I need, but I can't do it all the time. And then thinking, you got to put your brain to work. Say, okay, why do I like tennis? All right, well, I love hitting the ball. I don't particularly actually play matches. I just love having rallies. So putting the ball into play, hitting the ball as hard as I can, and running around. So when my friend and I play, and we're about to play hopefully today in a couple of hours, it really is just, it's more workout than a tennis match. And I love that. So we don't have to compete. I don't have to worry about getting nervous when I compete. Just have a good time. And you can work on your strokes. And there's that element of perfectionism. You can always be working on something. So I thought, okay, it'd be great if I could play tennis more often, but that's probably not going to happen. And also if it rains for a week, there goes my tennis. And suddenly I've gone a week without exercise. And that's happened a couple of times. Like if my best friend can't play, or it rains 1 week, then he can't play the next week. I've gone like 3 or 4 weeks without exercise, which is not great. That's when pickleball entered the picture. So it's like, okay, it's all the same stuff that I love about tennis. And you've got to remember, I taught myself tennis. Apparently that's another ADHD trait. You get into something so much and you teach yourself. So pickleball had all the facets that I loved. Hello. There's a dog over there. He's always here. Pickleball had all the same traits that I loved about tennis, and here's where I've been putting my brain to work. It's like, okay, so it's got the rallying. You don't really have to serve. You don't have to compete. It's competitive, but you don't have to be hugely competitive. It's indoors, so I know that I can play it every week at the same time. There's a bunch of people there. And pickleball actually, it's like a dumbed down version. It's a slowed down version of tennis because the ball is bigger, and so it travels through the air slower. And so the standard mismatch, like if you're better than someone else, it's a lot kinder than it would be in tennis. So it's a lot easier for you to just play a pickup game with someone who's relatively new to pickleball and have a good time. And so this is how I've been getting my exercise, is by reverse engineering. Okay, I know I need exercise. I know it's good for me, but I hate running and I don't want to go to the gym. What's an exercise that I have loved in the past? Tennis. Okay, what were the facets about tennis that I loved? X, Y, Z. And then reverse engineering, going, well, I can't play tennis all the time. Is there some way that I can find something else that has those things that I love? Like the endless grind for perfection. I love that. I love to try and perfect my shots. Pickleball. And then pickleball has, as I said, it's indoors for me. There's a club nearby, so I can play it every week. Even if one person isn't there, there are other people there. And because I love it, it doesn't bore the pants off of me like running does or going to the gym does. I know it's going to appeal to the crazy thing in my noggin. And so that's all a really long way of saying, yes, boredom is our kryptonite, but you can also turn that around and use that to your advantage, because once you find something that you like, you've got to believe, here's the thing, you've got to believe that there will be something out there that you do like. So if you're watching me and you're going, well, that's fine for you, Adrian, you love tennis, but I don't have a sport that I love. There's going to be something that you love. If you look at the problems with your ADHD or your challenges and you just have this belief, nothing will work. I've tried everything and nothing will work. Well, guess what? You might as well give up, right? There's no agency in that. There will be something that you love. Yes, you might have to go out and try a few new things, and yes, I know that can be a huge issue because then the social awkwardness might kick in and all that sort of stuff. But I will say with tennis, one of the things I loved about it was a solo sport. I didn't have to have the whole team thing, and I quite enjoy that. I prefer the solo sport to the team sport. So there's going to be something out there that you love. And by the way, this is not just with exercise. This could be with your career as a huge example. Yeah, you're going to have to try and find something that you love, probably, because if you're bored in your job, you're going to hate it. I mean, that's almost like a defining characteristic of ADHD, isn't it? If you don't enjoy it, you can't do it, because boredom is our kryptonite. So go out there, find something that you love, try to find reference points from your past. Things that you did love, things that you hyper-focused on, even if it seems unrelated. So maybe you love gaming, right? Why did you love gaming? Break it down. Oh, okay, well, I could do it. It was very convenient. For example, I don't need to go outside to game. I can just game from my home dressed in my pajamas. Okay, so it's got to be convenient. Got to be easy to access. Probably relatively cheap. I mean, you had the computer, but buying games could be like $20 or $10 a month or something. Okay, so there's a low barrier to entry as well. What else? Well, gamification. Literally taken from the world of video gaming, which is they give you they build in progression. So every 5 minutes, 10 minutes or 20 minutes, as silly as it seems, you go up a level, or you get a new skill, or you get a new cosmetic. It's like it's a completely made up world, but your character, hey, now that you've won this, you've completed this mission, you get a new t-shirt or whatever it is. And those little things, what are they? They're hits of dopamine. And the game gives them to you at regularly spaced intervals. This is all engineered, by the way. It's not accident, because they found out how to keep you in the game. It's gamification. They give you little rewards every now and then. And also, if it's a good game, it's got enough novelty. It can't be the same thing again and again and again. And you look at this, reverse engineer. Okay, what's something that I do want to do, but I find boring? And you've got to take the aspects of the things that have hooked you and try and build it into the thing that hasn't hooked you. So in my case, running wasn't going to work. Tennis does. Tennis builds into me for that whole, you can pick it up very easily, but you can always be working on something. It's a solo sport. I don't need to rely on other people. Don't need to be talking to other people. It's not a contact sport. It's easy around here. It's the tennis court's pretty much everywhere, so it's easy to get into all those things. So take that on board. This is just my experience. As I said, I'll link to the studies below, because I think it's important to back this up with science wherever we can. So it's not just my personal experience, not just my personal opinion. But if you're struggling with something, and for example, exercise, yeah, it'd be good for me, or nutrition, yeah, eating healthy would be good for me, but you're struggling, look at something where you've experienced success in the past, reverse engineer it, break it down, apply it to the area that you're struggling with. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Because as Tony Robbins likes to say, you can only build on success. You can't build on failure. And I guarantee you, if you've been struggling with ADHD, as much as you struggled, there are going to be areas where you've experienced massive success, because your brain is just wired that way, that once your interest is hooked, you would have gotten good at something. Maybe you're not the best in the world at it, that's not the point. But something has hooked you. Find out what it was, think about it, reverse engineer it, apply it. And it's not going to be perfect. You may have to work on it, but it's going to be a lot better, more effective than, for example, me trying to run a marathon because that's what everyone else was doing. So I hope this helps. Links to the studies below. Come and join us at ADHDschool.com. Join our ADHD community, just beginning. And I'll speak to you tomorrow.